Hey everyone, how's it going? So today I wanted to go over, a couple flashlights that I have from Surefire, and I just wanted to do kind of a in-depth look at some of these lights, try to give some people a little bit of guidance. Um, so these lights right here, from on the left side, we have a Surefire V1. So this stands for vampire, and what that means is it did not come in this body, so that's one thing to note. Is that these two flashlights right here, these are Surefire or S&S Precision bodies, but I ordered the heads separately. So again, this is the V1 head. I have a Lexan protector in front of it, just so the glass doesn't get shot out again. Cool thing about these two lights is it does white light and IR. So these are I believe the third generation of flashlight heads that do that from Surefire. Don't quote me on that. The first ones were on the old Millennium series. The next ones were on the Scout series, and then the newer ones are much smaller and slimlined. But they also have another generation that are even brighter than these ones. And that's the thing I love about Surefire, and the thing I kind of hate about Surefire is that they update their products all the time, but they're always making me buy newer stuff. So again, this is the V1 Vampire. You can see it came with a manual. It actually did come with a body, and as well as a switch cap. But here I'll go ahead and get real close to this so you can read the specifications. So these specifications are not only on the small one that goes on a helmet, but it's also for the rifle one. The rifle one's just a tad bit brighter at 150 lumens, and it has a higher runtime. I do not remember the runtime off the top of my head, but if you want to go ahead and just pause that, read that. All this information is also found on Surefire's website. So that's for these first two, and of course you can run aftermarket bodies on them, aftermarket tail caps, pressure switches to run with the D-ball, which I should be getting soon for this one. Different kind of click switches. So this one's, you press it in a little bit, all the way more. You can press it in. It's like a pressure switch, and then if you want, you can click it on. And the same thing for this one. The one thing to note is that this head is not a V1. This head is the Km3. This is the second generation Km3. The first generation was the wider ones that are similar to the head on this, the 720. But it had a wider head, and now they slimmed this down, and they added a off feature, which I don't believe was on the first generation. And then the third generation is the exact same heads as these. It just runs at 320 or 350 lumens with the same runtime. So they just up the brightness on them, which is pretty nice. Thanks Surefire. I'd love to get a hold of those and just switch these out, but that's not how Surefire works, sadly. Maybe a program one day. But yeah, so tons of aftermarket bodies. I know S&S Precision makes great ones, so these are integrated with their own mounts, which is pretty awesome. And then you have Haley Strategic just launched a line of bodies. I think it's Impact Weapons Components that OEMs those, but I'm not 100% sure. But the regular Surefire bodies, there's tons of different mounts that you just unscrew the interface, the thumb screw, and you can go direct to the rail. So like for Keymod or M-Lock or all that good stuff, there's mounts for those. There's tons of mounts for these. They're very versatile. And so the differences between these two heads, the V1 and the Km3, is the V1 runs on a single cell, so I can't switch these heads out. Okay? So this runs on a single cell, this one right here, and this one runs on a dual cell. This one has a single stage output, so it's always on high. When this one, it does a low high. So it has the added features of that, but it's not very ideal to run on a rifle, at least in my opinion. I would rather have 100% all the time and then nothing, or at least have the ability to switch it instead of playing around with like tail caps and trying to get it to be on the right setting, which you have to do with this one. And then we're moving over to the M720V. I actually just picked this up the other day. So this is a pretty unique Surefire lights. I looked on their website to try to get more information on this, and they were selling these at like $825, and I picked this one up for $360 off eBay. I'm sure you could get them for even cheaper if you bid on it, but this was a brand new one in package. But they had issues with these that I read. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't been able to test it yet, but something with some of the internals on here messing around with radios and NDs with these, so that's something to be a little weary about. I'm not too keen on this. I'll have to see how that is, but your mileage may vary. So this is a pretty unique light. It comes with a pressure switch. It has a bunch of different settings on each side. So on here we have the IR mode. So you have low, medium, and high. And on the other side, we have the visible. So we have high, medium, low, or high, medium, and then flashlight, as well as a strobe. So what's interesting about this is when it's on flashlight, or before I even get to that, it also has a pressure pad on the bottom. So no matter what, even if your tail switch goes out, you can still run this light. And it has, you press it and hold it, and it will go on. If you double tap it, it will stay on. So it's very similar to a Steiner D-ball or Lazy Devices D-ball. And it also has, so if it's on flashlight, it will run the whole, I think it's 350 lumens from the front when you use this. And then if you use the pressure pad, which we'll get to this in a minute as well, it doesn't turn on at all. So this is like the cutoff feature. Okay, so then if we go to medium, it actually runs it on medium if you press the pressure pad on the bottom, as well as the pressure pad, the tail switch. If you go into high, it does a medium again on this, so it's not a lot of light. So no matter what, you're gonna have a low output with medium and high when you use the pressure pad on the bottom. But when you use the tape switch, you get the full light. Then if you go over to strobe, you still get that medium light. But then if you use the pressure pad, you get a strobe. So that's pretty neat. I usually keep this one on high on both sides because I don't want to mess with that. And it also comes with a quick detach lever, which is pretty unique. You can get the Vampire ones like this, the Scout versions. It's the M620V, and it will come with this. But I'm kind of curious. I'm going to pick up some different mounts to see if I could actually mount this, like with the Haley Strategic mounts and the Impact Weapon Components mounts and the Unity Tactical mounts. I like all those mounts because this is a very bulky, heavy flashlight, and I would love to be able to slim this down a bit. And I really like the features of this light. So a quick comparison between this one's actually a lot heavier. And just a quick look at the manual for the M720. So it comes with all this stuff. Let me go over the tape switch before I do any of that. So the tape switch is pretty unique to this model. It's the, pull it up in the manual because I can completely blank out. It is the SR07 M300 tape switch. So it's specific to this model. And why is it specific to this model? Because it has, normally when you see this tape switch from Surefire, it has another cord coming out for the D-ball. So you'd have your white light and then you'd have your D-ball or your pack or whatever it is. With this one, you have your pressure pad up front, and then you click that in and it becomes like a clicky switch. So that's pretty unique. And it does come with this. The other thing about this flashlight is you have to take out the pressure pad to get to the batteries, which is kind of annoying. So quick comparison between these is that the KM1 or the V1 has a bunch of different features, but it's not it doesn't have settings on it. So you have to go through the settings with the click on the back. So it's a high and then a low. And then to switch from the IR to visible, you pull it and you just rotate the head. So now it's off white light, and it was on IR. So I usually keep this one on white light because it goes on my helmet. And that's the same thing with the Km3, the new version, as well as the old version. And then we go on to the 720, and this is very similar to the old version of the Km3 heads, and the fact that it's a lot easier to switch. I don't nearly have to pull as hard, and it feels like it's rotating on glass. You get that nice audible click. With this one, you have to pull quite a bit, and it snaps into place, which might be better. They might have had issues with these firing on full auto guns where they would flicker, which I have seen. So maybe that gets rid of that problem. But regardless, this is much easier to switch. The cool thing I like about the 720V is it actually has a little nub by the IR, so you can feel it, so you'll know, okay. And it also has one on the switch itself, so you can feel this is IR, so then that means that this is off, that the next one's off, and then the next one is white light. So you can kind of gauge off that, which I really like. It doesn't have that tactile feel on this flashlight. So let's go ahead and take these outside, and we'll see the brightness as well as the IR. We'll go ahead and put nods on and take a look through that and see what goes on. I probably won't be testing this one because it has virtually the same as this. So we'll go through the Km3 head as well as the 720 V flashlight. All right, cool. Let's go ahead and get to it.
So here we are in my backyard. We're here recording with the GoPro, the TMVC adapter with the GoPro Hero 4 Black Edition. So here's how it looks with just with nothing on. So here I'm going to test out the high on my my V1. So as you can see, that's pretty bright. I'm actually one of my VNVDs off, so I can just solely focus on this. So that's the high. So as you can see, it's a pretty decent headlamp. I'll shut it off and kind of turn it on. So, you know, it can definitely be pretty helpful at times. Now, what sucks is if you were to ever try to bring a rifle up, it's obviously going to wash it out, so you're not going to be able to see it. But if you turn it off, it's hard to see right now, as the rifle probably objects most of the stuff. But when you're wearing this with a binocular setup, that's kind of, it negates that. So then we'll go ahead and we'll switch to the low. And as you can see, it's pretty low, but it's still very nice for like these dark situations where you don't have a lot of light. But for outside use, I don't really recommend it. And again, if you try to bring up a rifle, you're just gonna get a lot of wash. So now that we're done with that, that was a V1 by Surefire. So we're gonna bring out the Km3 Head. So this is all IR, by the way. So as you can see, this is a very bright flashlight, and it definitely has a nice flood. It has a lot of throw. It seems to work just like the white light version. So it has just the same amount of intensity and flood. And if you were to bring it up with the red dot, it works really well, especially if you were to use this with like a mono setup. So this would be a very popular setup in my opinion. It'd be very easy to use, and you can pick up that red dot very nicely. So that's the high setting. That's the only setting. So we're gonna go ahead and turn on the 720 Raid. So that is very, very bright compared to the Km3 Head. So it has a lot more of an intense hotspot, which would be great for using with a red dot. So, you know, if you bring it up, I could easily take out that rabbit over there, or you know, whatever have you. It's a lot easier to find things. And then if you click it off, you can't see much, especially if you're backlighted. If you're not backlighted, it can still be kind of difficult because it kind of just blocks everything out. If you turn it on, it's just like a floating dot right there. So that's pretty nice. That's the high. Let me go ahead and change that. So we have the low setting on now. This is the medium. The medium doesn't look that much different than the high, in my opinion. it's still very, very bright, and you can still shoulder your rifle with it just fine, without any issues whatsoever. But the low is very, very low. It's almost hardly even on at that point. It'd be great for like low detection or anything like that. So that's the only reason why I would use it, but it's still gonna wash out your nods. And if you go into to darkness, it's still kind of worthless. But other than that, it's a pretty good setup. I'm actually really impressed by the 720 right now, if I turn that back on high. Because that's the main issue when using your red dot with under nods, is that you get that fogginess right there, so you can't really take a precise shot. But if you were to bring it up and kind of illuminate it, it'd be very easy to take that shot. Now if I were to bring down my other, gotta take a second for my eye to kind of adjust. Now if you're running binos, you're not gonna be able to see this in the video. But if you're running binos, I can easily just superimpose this dot onto both eyes without any sort of issue. But yeah, so that's it for the night portion. Actually, you know what? I want to do something that's a little interesting. So I'm actually going to take these lights and I'm going to turn them back on to white light, so you can kind of see if there's a difference. So here's the white light on the Km3 Head. So it's actually even brighter under nods. Of course it's going to be, because it amplifies that light. And then here's the 720V, the Raid. And then of course you can use it with the red dot. But I wouldn't recommend that, because it's just, obviously there's no need to give away your position with the nods, and it'd just be kind of pointless. So I hope you liked that video here in my backyard. I gotta look at the stars for a second, because of course it's always pretty. But so we're gonna go ahead and back inside and wrap up the video.
So I hope you like that overview of all of my my vampire white light IR flashlights. If you have any questions or comments, you know where to leave them. Make sure to like, favorite, share, and subscribe. I'll put a link down in the description where you can try to find all these. I'll just put a link down in the description to Surefire's flashlight, or to Surefire's webpage. And as always, have a good one.